The operating room doors burst open at 2:17 a.m. Blood streaked the gurney sheets, dark and sticky under the harsh fluorescent lights. The smell of iron filled the air before Olivia Carter even looked up from the tray she was preparing. "Gunshot wound," a nurse shouted. "Male, late 20s. Severe internal bleeding." Olivia's hands were already gloved. Vitals, BP dripping, pulse erratic. She moved without hesitation, her voice calm, controlled. Too calm for the chaos flooding the room. "Let's move. Now." Security guards flooded in behind the gurney. Too many, too armed, too tense for an ordinary patient. Olivia clocked it instantly but said nothing. She'd learned long ago that curiosity could be dangerous. The man on the table was unconscious, his dark hair matted with sweat, jaw clenched even in pain. There was something about him, an unsettling stillness beneath the blood and labored breathing, like a predator wounded but not broken. "Scalpel," Olivia said. The lead guard stepped closer. "Doctor." She didn't look at him. "If you want him alive, you'll step back." The guard hesitated, then obeyed. Olivia worked fast, efficient, precise. She didn't ask his name, didn't ask how he was shot, didn't care who he was. All that mattered was the rhythm of her hands and the steady beeping of the monitor as she fought death inch by inch. 2 hours later, the bleeding was under control. She removed her gloves, peeled them off slowly, and exhaled. "He'll live," she said. "For now." Relief rippled through the room, but behind her, unseen, a pair of dark eyes fluttered open and locked onto her. Steve Moretti woke up to pain. Not the kind that made you scream, but the kind that reminded you were still alive. The first thing he noticed was the ceiling. White, clean, hospital. The second was the woman standing at the foot of his bed, reading a chart like his existence meant nothing to her. She was young, mid-20s maybe, hair pulled back into a tight bun. Sharp eyes, calm face, no fear. That was unusual. Most people reacted to him in one of two ways, terror or desperation. She felt detached. Steve shifted slightly. The machines around him responded instantly. Her head snapped up. "You're awake," she said. "No softness. No, just fact." "How long?" he asked, his voice rough. 12 minutes, she replied. "You're lucky." He smirked weakly. "I don't believe in luck." She met his eyes then, really met them, and something subtle changed. Not fear, not interest, assessment. "Then you should believe in good surgeons," she said. "Try not to tear your stitches. I didn't put them in so you could bleed out again." And with that, she turned and walked out. Didn't wait for thanks. Didn't ask his name. Didn't look back. Steve stared at the door long after it closed. For the first time in years, someone had saved his life and treated him like he was nothing special. That disturbed him more than the bullet ever did. 2 days later, Steve Moretti sat in his penthouse office overlooking the city, his arm in a sling, his expression unreadable. "Find her," he said quietly. The man across from him nodded. "Already did." Steve raised an eyebrow. "Dr. Olivia Carter, 25, top trauma surgeon. Runs a luxury fashion startup on the side. No criminal record. No scandals. No visible weaknesses." Steve leaned back slowly. "No visible," he repeated. Olivia Carter didn't notice the black car following her at first. She was used to late nights, long drives, empty streets. Her mind replayed surgeries, not shadows. It wasn't until the third turn, when the car matched her exactly, that her grip tightened on the steering wheel. She pulled into a well-lit parking lot. The car stopped behind her. A man stepped out. Expensive suit, confident walk, dangerous calm. Steve. She recognized him instantly, though she'd only seen him half-conscious and bleeding. Her jaw tightened. "I don't talk to patients outside the hospital," she said flatly, stepping out of her car. "Good," he replied. "I'm not here as a patient." She folded her arms. "Then you shouldn't be here at all." A flicker of amusement crossed his face. "You saved my life," he said. "I came to thank you. I get paid for that." Olivia replied. Conversation's over. She turned to leave. Steve's voice followed her, low, controlled. You didn't ask for my name. She stopped. I don't need it. That made him smile. Steve, he said anyway. Steve Moretti. She glanced back briefly. Congratulations. Then she walked away. Steve watched her go, something unfamiliar tightening in his chest. Rejection. Not dramatic. Not emotional. Absolute. The first gift arrived the next morning. A rare watch. Handcrafted. Worth more than most people made in a year. Olivia stared at it, unimpressed. She handed it back to the courier. Return it. The second gift was flowers. The third, an invitation to dinner. She declined them all. By the fourth attempt, Steve realized something unsettling. He couldn't buy her. You're not used to this, his lieutenant said carefully. Steve's eyes were dark. Used to what? Being told no. Steve said nothing, because the truth was worse. He wasn't angry. He was intrigued. The first threat came a week later. A note slid under Olivia's apartment door. You should stay away from him. No signature. No explanation. Olivia read it once, then tore it in half. She refused to be afraid. But when her office was broken into 2 nights later, and nothing was stolen, she knew it wasn't coincidence. Steve found out before she did. And he handled it the only way he knew how. Violently. When Olivia stormed into his office unannounced, fury radiated off her like heat. You're ruining my life, she snapped. Steve stood slowly. I'm protecting it. I didn't ask for your protection. He stepped closer. You don't get to refuse it. Her eyes flashed. Watch me. The room crackled with tension. You think power gives you control over me? She said. I don't care how dangerous you are. Steve studied her, really studied her. And for the first time, he said something honest. That's exactly why I care. Silence fell between them. Dangerous. Heavy. Unavoidable. Olivia didn't sit down. She stood in the center of Steve Moretti's office. Arms crossed, eyes sharp, as if the luxury surrounding her meant nothing. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the city behind him. But she didn't look impressed. You don't get to decide what happens in my life, she said. Steve leaned against his desk, unbothered. You don't get to pretend you're not already in it. She laughed once, short, humorless. I saved a stranger in surgery. That doesn't make me part of your world. No, he agreed. But refusing me does. That caught her attention. She narrowed her eyes. What does that even mean? It means, Steve said calmly, that people notice when someone tells me no. Her jaw tightened. Then fix that. I can't. Won't, she corrected. A pause stretched between them. You don't understand how this works, he said. I don't care, Olivia replied. I didn't grow up needing powerful men to feel safe. That landed harder than she intended. Steve straightened slowly, the casual confidence in his posture sharpening into something colder. And I didn't build this world to watch people I care about get hurt. She scoffed. You don't care about me. No, he said quietly. Not yet. The honesty unsettled her more than a lie would have. I'm not staying, Olivia said, turning toward the door. Steve didn't stop her. But as her hand touched the handle, he spoke again. They weren't warning you away from me, he said. They were warning me away from you. She froze. What? The note, he continued. The break-in. That wasn't my people. She turned back slowly. Then whose were they? Steve's gaze darkened. Someone testing how far I'd go. A chill ran down her spine despite herself. You're saying I'm leverage. I'm saying, he corrected, that you're already valuable. She stared at him for a long moment, then shook her head. You don't get to pull me into your war. I didn't, Steve said. They did. Olivia didn't sleep that night. Every sound outside her apartment felt louder. Every shadow stretched longer than it should. She hated it. Hated that fear was creeping into places she'd built to feel safe. Hated that part of her believed Steve because if he was lying, she was already in danger. Her phone buzzed at 2:34 a.m. Unknown number. You should stay somewhere else tonight. Her heart skipped. She typed back before she could overthink it. Olivia, is that an order? The reply came almost instantly. Steve, no. It's a choice. She stared at the screen. Then, against her better judgment, she grabbed her coat. Steve's penthouse wasn't what she expected. Yes, it was expensive, immaculate, guarded, but it wasn't loud. Felt controlled. Minimalist furniture, soft lighting, a kind of deliberate emptiness that suggested a man who didn't collect things, only power. Steve met her at the door. You came, he said. Don't read into it, Olivia replied, stepping inside. I'm here because I trust my instincts. And what are they telling you? That you're dangerous, she said honestly. He nodded. Good. The truth came out in pieces. Not all at once. Not dramatically. Steve didn't boast. Didn't romanticize. He explained the structure. The alliances. The enemies who wanted him weak or dead. You don't run a city like this without blood on your hands, he said. I won't lie to you about that. Olivia listened, arms wrapped around herself. Why tell me any of this? She asked. Because you hate being manipulated, Steve replied. And because if you're going to walk away, it'll be with your eyes open. She studied him. And if I don't walk away, then I'll stop pretending this isn't personal. The words settled heavily between them. Days turned into a pattern neither of them named. Olivia stayed, but she didn't hide. She went to work, ran her business, lived her life. Steve didn't assign guards to her without permission, didn't track her movements, didn't touch her without consent. It was unsettling. You're holding back, she said one night, standing by the window. Steve joined her, keeping just enough distance. I'm trying something new, he replied. Respect. She glanced at him. You're bad at it. He smiled faintly. I know. The first time they kissed, it wasn't planned. It happened after an argument. Voices raised, emotions raw. You don't get to decide what risks I take, Olivia snapped. I do when your risks get you killed. You don't own me. Steve stepped closer, anger and restraint warring in his eyes. I know, he said. That's the problem. The silence between them snapped. Olivia closed the distance. The kiss was fierce, uncontrolled, dangerous. And when she pulled back, breathless, she said the one thing Steve hadn't expected. This doesn't mean I belong to you. Steve's hands dropped instantly. Good, he said. Because I don't want ownership. She searched his face. Then what do you want? His answer was quiet. Choice. The betrayal came from inside. One of Steve's most trusted lieutenants. Someone who believed Steve had grown weak. Olivia was taken in broad daylight. Not violently, not loudly, just efficiently. When Steve got the call, his entire world narrowed to a single point of rage. They took her, his men said. The room went silent. Steve didn't shout, didn't break anything. He simply said, burn it down. Olivia woke tied to a chair in a warehouse that smelled like oil and rust. The man in front of her smiled cruelly. You're the problem, he said. You made him hesitate. She lifted her chin. Then you misunderstood him. The man laughed. Steve didn't hesitate. He arrived like a storm. Gunfire. Screams. Chaos. By the time he reached Olivia, blood stained his suit. He cut her free with shaking hands. You're safe, he said. She stood, eyes blazing. At what cost? He looked at her, and for the first time, fear flickered across his face. They didn't talk that night, but the next morning, Olivia packed her bag. Steve watched from the doorway. You're leaving, he said. Yes. Because you're afraid? She shook her head. Because I'm not. She stepped closer. I won't be your weakness, Olivia said. And I won't be your excuse to soften. Steve swallowed. Then what are you asking? She met his eyes, unwavering. Change how you rule. Not for me, but with me out of reach. Silence stretched. You're asking me to restructure my empire. Steve said slowly. I'm asking you to choose who you are, Olivia replied. And if I don't? She picked up her bag. Then this ends. Steve closed his eyes briefly, then opened them. All right, he said. I'll do it your way. Steve Moretti didn't dismantle his empire. He refined it. Within weeks, the city felt the shift. Operations became quieter, cleaner, less blood spilled in the streets, but more doors closed permanently behind the scenes. Steve removed unstable men, cut emotional liabilities, and reorganized power like a chessboard. Those who mistook restraint for weakness didn't last long. Olivia watched it happen from a distance. She moved back into her apartment, returned to her routines, threw herself into surgery and fabric sketches and runway meetings. She told herself space was necessary, but distance didn't erase awareness. She felt Steve everywhere, in the sudden absence of danger, in the subtle protection she hadn't asked for but couldn't deny. When threats surfaced, they disappeared before reaching her. You're still guarding me, she accused him one evening over the phone. Yes, Steve said calmly. From afar. That's still control. No, he replied. It's responsibility. She hated that part of her understood the difference. They didn't see each other for 3 weeks. When they finally did, it was by accident or fate. Olivia was leaving the hospital when she spotted him across the street, stepping out of a black car. He looked the same, sharp suit, composed expression, but something in his posture had changed. Less tension, more intention. Their eyes met. Neither smiled. They stood there, the city rushing between them, until Olivia crossed the street first. You look different, she said. So do you. She shrugged. I stopped running. His gaze darkened. I never wanted you to. Liar, Olivia said softly. He didn't deny it. They walked together without deciding to. Coffee turned into conversation. Conversation into silence that felt intimate instead of strained. You could walk away, Steve said eventually. Right now. I know. You don't owe me anything. I know. He stopped walking. Then why are you still here? Olivia met his eyes, voice steady. Because I choose to be. That answer stayed with him longer than anything she'd ever said. The enemies adapted. Steve's restraint became a challenge. His restructured power threatened old alliances. Rivals moved carefully now, but more strategically. Olivia's business was targeted next. Not violently, not obviously. Suppliers dropped contracts. Investors pulled out without explanation. Rumors circulated quietly, damaging enough to hurt, subtle enough to deny. Olivia noticed immediately. Steve found out an hour later. He went to her office unannounced. I told you not to interfere, she snapped. And I told you they wouldn't stop, he replied. This is pressure. They want to remind me you're still leverage. She slammed a folder onto her desk. I built this without you, she said. I won't let them destroy it because of you. Steve's voice lowered. Then let me help. No. Olivia. No, she repeated. If I accept your help, I prove them right. He studied her, jaw tight. You're choosing pride over safety. I'm choosing autonomy, she shot back. I won't be protected into submission. Something dark flickered in his eyes. Not anger, but respect edged with frustration. Then let me teach you how to protect yourself, he said. She hesitated. How? By understanding the game. The lessons weren't gentle. Steve showed her how influence worked, how silence could be weaponized, how fear could be redirected instead of erased. He didn't shield her from reality. He handed it to her. You don't win by being clean, he told her one night. You win by being deliberate. I'm not like you, Olivia said. No, he agreed. You're worse. She raised an eyebrow. Excuse me? You have a conscience, Steve said, and you're choosing when to ignore it. That unsettled her more than any threat. Their relationship shifted. Not softer, deeper. They didn't pretend the danger was gone. They acknowledged it and moved through it together without promises. When they touched now, it was intentional, charged. One night, After a long day unraveling a supplier sabotage, Olivia stood in Steve's kitchen, wine untouched. "If I stay," she said slowly, "I need something clear." Steve turned to her. "Name it." "You won't ask me to look away," she said. "From what you are." His expression hardened. "I won't become harmless." "I don't want harmless," Olivia replied. "I want honest." Silence pressed between them. Then Steve stepped closer. "Then understand this," he said quietly. "I won't stop ruling. I'll just rule better." Her pulse quickened. "And if that costs lives?" "It already has." She didn't flinch. "Then don't lie to me about it," she said. Steve searched her face, looking for judgment, fear, retreat. He found none. That night, when they came together, it wasn't desperate. It was deliberate, dark, mutual. The final test came without warning. A federal task force closed in, not on Steve but on Olivia. Not arrest. Exposure. Evidence surfaced linking her indirectly to Steve's financial channels. Enough to ruin her career. Enough to isolate her completely. Steve arrived at her apartment furious. "They crossed a line," he said. "I can erase this." Olivia shook her head. "No." "Olivia, if you erase it," she said, "I become dependent. I won't survive as someone protected from consequences." He stared at her. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I'll face it," she replied. "Publicly. Honestly. And if it destroys you?" She stepped closer. "Then I'll rebuild." Steve exhaled slowly, something in him fracturing. "You'd risk everything," he said, "rather than let me fix it." "Yes. Even us." She held his gaze. "Especially us." The press storm was brutal, but Olivia stood her ground. She didn't deny knowing Steve, didn't apologize for choosing him. She drew firm lines and refused to be shamed. The evidence collapsed under scrutiny. The attempt backfired. Steve watched from the shadows as Olivia emerged stronger. Unbroken, unowned. When it was over, he met her on the rooftop of her building. The city stretched beneath them. "You could have left," he said. "I didn't want to," Olivia replied. He took her hand, not possessively but openly. "You chose darkness," Steve said. Eyes open. She squeezed his fingers. "Ich chose truth." Steve leaned in, his voice low. "Then stay." Not a command. An invitation. Olivia looked at the city, then back at him. "I will," she said. "But not as your weakness." His lips curved into something dangerous and satisfied. "Good," he murmured. "Because I don't need saving." She smiled faintly. "Neither do I." And in that moment, standing above a city neither of them intended to surrender, Olivia understood something fully. She hadn't tamed the monster. She taught it how to walk beside her. The city learned to adjust to Steve Moretti's rule the way it always did, with fear first, then acceptance. But something had changed. Violence no longer announced itself loudly. There were no public warnings, no reckless displays. Power moved quietly now. Contracts rewritten behind closed doors. Loyalties shifted without blood on the pavement. Steve didn't rule less. He ruled better. And Olivia understood what that meant before anyone else did. She saw it in the way meetings ended early. In the absence of chaos that used to follow Steve like a shadow. In the way people looked at her now, not as leverage, not as a liability, but as a variable they couldn't calculate. That unsettled them. "Good. You've become inconvenient," Steve said one night, watching the city from his penthouse window. Olivia leaned against the counter, arms folded. "I'll take that as a compliment." "It is," he replied. "They don't know how to handle a woman who won't be owned, or scared." She tilted her head. "And you?" He turned to face her fully. "I adapted." The final threat didn't come with guns or warnings. Came with an offer. A coalition of rival leaders approached Steve through intermediaries. Men who smiled too easily and spoke like everything was already decided. "They want you gone," Steve told Olivia later. Quietly. "And you?" she asked. "They want me predictable," he said. "Alone." She met his gaze. "What did you say?" Steve's lips curved slightly. I asked what they were offering. Olivia didn't flinch. And your name came up, he admitted. They believe I'd choose power over you. She studied him, calm and sharp. Would you? Steve didn't answer immediately. Not because he was unsure, but because the truth deserved weight. No, he said finally. But they need to believe I might. The plan was dangerous. Calculated. Exactly the kind of thing Olivia would have refused months ago. Now she listened. You'll let them think I'm the weakness, she said slowly. Yes. And when they move, they expose themselves. She nodded once. Then I'll play the role. Steve stepped closer, his voice low. I won't put you in danger. You already live in danger, Olivia replied. The difference is whether I pretend otherwise. Silence stretched between them. Then Steve said the words no one else ever had. If you say no, this ends. Olivia looked up at him. Not searching. Not hesitating. I'm not saying no, she said. I'm saying I want control of my part. A slow smile touched his lips. Of course you do. The city buzzed with rumors. That Steve Moretti had grown distracted. That Olivia Carter had become his blind spot. That love had softened him. They let the lie spread. At a public charity gala, bright lights, expensive smiles, Olivia arrived alone. Cameras flashed. Whispers followed. Steve watched from a distance. Now, one of his men murmured into his earpiece. The trap closed. 3 rival leaders moved at once. Financial hits, legal pressure, a coordinated attempt to corner Steve while he appeared exposed. And Olivia? She walked straight into the center of it. A man approached her mid-event, voice polite, eyes sharp. You should leave, he said quietly. She smiled. I don't run from conversations. That answer sealed his fate. By morning, the coalition was gone. Not arrested. Not publicly ruined. Erased. Their assets absorbed. Their allies silent. Their names reduced to cautionary tales whispered in back rooms. Steve stood in his office as reports came in, one after another. It's done, his lieutenant said. They won't recover. Steve nodded once. Then he turned away from the city and went to find Olivia. She was on the rooftop of her building when he arrived, the wind tugging at her coat, the city glowing beneath her like a living thing. You could have waited, he said. She didn't turn around. I wanted to see it after. After what? She finally faced him. After choosing it. Steve studied her carefully. You were never meant for this world, he said quietly. Olivia stepped closer. No, she agreed. But I'm not afraid of it either. He reached out, stopping just short of touching her. You know what staying means, Steve said. There's no pretending anymore. I know, Olivia replied. I won't ask you to be good. And I won't ask you to look away, he said. She met his gaze. Then we understand each other. Steve's hand closed around hers. Not possessive, not claiming. Equal. You don't belong to me, he said. And you don't own me, she replied. But, Steve added, voice dropping, the world will treat us as one. Olivia smiled, slow, deliberate. Let it. They didn't marry. They didn't soften the edges for appearances. Olivia kept her career, expanded her empire, became known as a woman who moved with quiet authority, and whose partnerships were never accidental. Steve ruled the shadows with precision. Together they were untouchable, not because they hid the darkness, but because they chose it on their terms. And somewhere between power and freedom, control and consent, Olivia realized the truth she'd been circling since the night she saved his life. Love didn't save monsters, taught them restraint. And sometimes the most dangerous choice wasn't walking away, it was staying. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share your thoughts in the comment section, and subscribe to Urban Folks TV for more emotional billionaire romance stories. See you next time.